Hi, good afternoon. Um, our topic for today is basically the e-commerce battleground for India. Over the past 2 years, we've seen an unprecedented boom in funding for Indian startups, which has led to growth of online retail in a way that none of us expected. Um, Over the past few months, however, investors have shown signs of cutting back because there are concerns about the profitability of e-commerce companies, where they are headed, competition from international rivals. We have Mohit Tandon of Delhivery and Chetan Kulharni of Vizury to discuss with us how this year will pan out and how will the, the slowdown in funding affect e-commerce companies. To start off with Mohit, how do you expect this year to pan out? I mean, do you think funding will continue at the levels that we've seen over the past 2 years?
I think that in the last 3 years, if you look at the growth of e-commerce, the market has tripled almost for the last 3 years every year. Uh, I see that the growth in the market and the overall e-commerce market is going to continue this year, and it's going to, if not 3x, but it's going to still grow very fast. Uh, as far as the funding is concerned, now people have become more cautious about efficient growth. So it, companies which are more if growing more efficiently, where they are able to extract more ROI of their marketing spend, have a efficient supply chain so, working behind the engine. Uh, those companies will, I think, will grow really fast and grow sustainably. And investors also basically will also be looking at it from that point of view, and companies which are actually doing it well will keep attracting funding as and when required. Uh, so the investors are also going to be selective towards which are the horizontals which are doing well, which are growing efficiently. So which are the with the category specific players which are growing well, the category niche that will evolve over a period of time. If you look at overall e-commerce, electronics, apparels has been the largest and the fastest growing categories. But as now we have a larger user base, new categories, niche categories will also evolve and start growing very fast, and then you start seeing new players emerging over there. So it will be a very, very selective. I don't see that the funding is going to slow down, but people will be more selective towards where they are putting their money behind. Uh,
So if people are getting more selective, then obviously it means that there will be some consolidation in the market because some startups will end up missing out. Those which probably don't have like a clear path to profitability, right?
Yeah, I think that's very natural to any new and evolving industry where when the industry is in the growth phase, you'll see a lot of lot of startups basically, or companies coming in, and space will get crowded, and then there'll be a consolidation phase, and then there'll be again a growth phase after that again. So I think it will follow the natural curve of any industry that you would look at anywhere else in the world also.
Alright. Chetan, what about you? How do you think this year is going to pan out? I mean, you've been one of the biggest beneficiaries, helping companies place ads and helping them with their marketing strategies. This year, how do you expect it to pan out?
No, if we essentially look at, let's say, the last 5 to 6 year cycle, um, we had a sort of bullishness about e-commerce as a sector in 2008-9. That is when the first generation of the biggies right now sort of came into being. There was a lull in between for a year or so, and then sort of we saw the next wave of growth. So we've seen two mini waves so far. Uh, our sort of assessment at Vizury is this year is going to be again the year of consolidation, as Mohit said. This is the year where one term you will start hearing more and more is that the term is unit economics. Right? Unit economics is about, are you actually making a sort of profit on that every transaction that you're driving? Uh, and unit economics is determined by your marketing, by your delivery cost, by your cost of goods sold, and hence it essentially is a good representative of sort of how well is the fundamental economics of the company. So when I look at sort of the funding story, let's say this year, and what is going to impact it, I fundamentally believe that unit economics and where each company stands is also going to play as much of an important role as, let's say, the growth trajectory, let's say, over the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay, got it. So clearly, everyone expects consolidation in the market this year, some kind of sanity, to the discounts and everything else that e-commerce firms have been doing. How will this affect your businesses? I mean, you help place ads for e-commerce companies. You help them with their marketing strategies. This is one of the biggest costs for e-commerce companies. So now that there's going to be, some kind of more rational way of doing business, how is this year going to affect your business?
Yeah, so that's a good question. If you look at sort of multiple ways of measuring the efficiency of spends, one of the large spends, as you said, is marketing, right? And this involves right from the TV spends to online spends to marketing systems that get set up. And how does a marketer measure the efficiency of it? And as a company that has been on the sideline of e-commerce business for the past 6 years, we have seen a very interesting sort of change in terms of the outlook of e-commerce companies. So initially the focus was how many people are actually clicking on my ad and not so much about what is happening downstream. Gradually came in the metric of cost per transaction, right? And how much am I essentially gaining? And now the metric is about what is the lifetime value of this user, which is what unit economics is about. Right? So how much am I making on this user for this transaction? And that is where the focus is. So the impact on companies like us is, as Mohit alluded to, one clear impact we see is this whole efficiency drive that's going to come in terms of the way the boards of these large e-commerce companies think, the management of these large e-commerce companies think. They would look out for more efficiencies in what they do. So if you are essentially a marketing enabler like what we are, the way we are trying to align ourselves is trying to get down to these downstream metrics and actually demonstrate that we are adding value for that incremental transaction that we are driving.
So this basically means you have to drive more transactions and drive more loyalty towards e-commerce companies.
Correct. So that is the other thing, which is if you look at the average traffic on any e-commerce website, about 70% of it is from existing users. So 70% of users on any given e-commerce website, on an average, right, is from the existing guys who have actually bought once, at least once in the past. 30% of guys are the new guys, right? So when we look at a metric like efficiency, in the last 12 months especially, the focus was how do I grow that 30% pie? How do I keep getting more and more new users through TV, through online ads, through sort of other campaigns that I run? But now in terms of efficiency, what is beginning to happen is people are beginning to focus on that 70% as well. And they're saying, this guy did a transaction 6 months back with me. Now he has not come back to the site. He has not sort of checked out any of the products. How do I engage and re-engage him to drive more incremental dollars from that particular user? So that is one clear angle to efficiency that we are beginning to see.
Right, right. Mohit, as co-founder of India's largest specialty logistics firm, how do you change your business to suit the current market dynamics? Because over the past 2 years, obviously you would have seen a big spurt in business because, you deliver products that customers place on e-commerce companies. Now that there's going to be some kind of, more, not exactly a slowdown, but there is going to be some consolidation in the market. Existing dynamics will get affected. How do you change your strategy to suit the current market dynamics?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, basically we look at it, what is the overall market is going to look like. As long as the overall market is growing, right, whether there's a consolidation doesn't impact it too much. What our focus, as I said, along with the e-commerce companies is going to be that how do you create more efficient supply chain ecosystem for the entire e-commerce industry, because at the end of the day, the unit economics will work only if your supply chain costs are lower than what happens in the offline channel. If the online supply chain cost is more than the offline cost, then they will never be able to compete with the offline channel and grow beyond what the current numbers are, right? So that's where our focus is also to create a very, very efficient supply chain solution. And when we look at supply chain, we look at end to end, right from basically where the stuff is getting procured to delivering it to the end customer. How do you stock it? Where do you stock it? How do you create more regional fulfillment network instead of a national fulfillment supply chain, right? which reduces your cost of delivery. Once that, if any supply chain company which is basically lowest is able to achieve that lower cost, right, is going to be the preferred partners with all the e-commerce companies, right?
Right.
So the focus will always be on creating more and more efficiency, creating automation. Wherever you can build automation, put capex so that you can reduce the variable cost of every additional delivery that you are doing. How do you create efficient routing systems to further increase efficiency? So a lot of focus will go on the tech side. How do you use tech to actually improve the supply chain ecosystem, reduce cost, and actually at the same time also improve the service level that you guarantee to the customer.
How do you strike the balance? I mean, how do you strike the balance between cutting costs and maintaining service levels?
I think that what we've been doing also over the past 1 year is that creating more specific product for specific customer requirement. Right, there is always a trade-off between cost and service level, and there are certain things, items that people will need immediately. There are things that people will need. We won't mind waiting for 5 days or 6 days. So we have services where we can deliver basically products in 4 hours to 6 days, and obviously there is then a cost balance in GD out there. Now the question is that for each of these products, how do you basically optimize the provide best service at the given cost, right? We have a cost number target in our mind, and then basically we use tech, use data analytics, etc. Everything to basically create a solution which is basically the lowest possible cost for that given service level.
Got it. Over the past 1 year, we've seen the large e-commerce companies like Flipkart, Snapdeal acquire advertising technology companies, invest into logistics companies. Is this something that you see as an ongoing trend? Do you think e-commerce companies will continue to invest in enablers such as advertising technology companies?
Sure. So if you look at the two big daddies out there, Amazon and Alibaba, right? And if you look at their P&L and the way they make money, right? So they make more money through their ancillary business than their core business. So the core business is actually the business of selling products and services.
Right.
The ancillary businesses are as follows. Number one is they may show ads on their website and make some money, right? They may let brands use their data and make some money or there. They may sort of give out their logistics sort of supply chain and demand chain that they've built out to other companies to use and make incremental money or there.
Then there's payments.
And then there is payments, right? So they would build out their own payment solutions and
Right.
sort of give it out. So all these are ancillary sources of revenue. And when sort of the large companies, as you said, Flipkart, Snapdeal, Paytm, start thinking about unit economics and actually how does the equation fill in? How does the Excel sheet look like or should look like from a profitability standpoint? This is a missing piece that will come out very, very clearly and sooner than later. So my sense is while in the last 1 year we have seen some of these mini acquisitions happening, if what Rakuten or Alibaba or Amazon have done in terms of scale of investment in ancillary businesses is about to go by, then I would say there will be even larger things that would be done in the next 1 to 2 years in terms of investing, acquiring, partnering, and some of those things.
So you expect like an increase in the deal size and the number of deals that they do in all these ancillary businesses?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Mohit, what about you? I mean, do you see any large acquisitions of logistics companies by e-commerce companies?
Yeah, I think the answer in supply chain is slightly different from what is it for other ancillary part of the business, right? As I said, right, the focus of all of us, the e-commerce companies, the logistics companies, is on the supply chain side is to create the most efficient supply chain ecosystem to compete with offline, right? There, basically, if you are actually acquiring a logistic company and creating an in-house supply chain, then you are in a way creating an inefficient ecosystem, right? If everybody has its own logistics company, then you are not able to. You are actually not able to create the most efficient solution. Third-party company which is actually able to consolidate, volumes, shipments from multiple players, and then basically invest behind technology onto that, right? Is able to create a more efficient ecosystem. It's not a very difficult thing to understand. If there is a biker which is a courier which is going into a building to deliver 5 shipments. One is for Amazon, one is for Flipkart, Snapdeal, Shoploose, and somebody else, right? If all of them basically send their own biker, there are 5 bikers over in there today where that shipment. In the other case, basically one biker will go and deliver those 5 shipments. The cost will be practically 5x in the other case, right? So if everybody keeps building their own, supply, it was essential when they started out because there were no specialized players who were doing this, and uh, it was the need of the hour. That's why they had to build it. But now there are enough players in the market who can actually do that, provide those service, and be independent and consolidate across multiple. So I don't think that they are going to go and acquire more and more companies. I don't think that how that would actually create a efficient ecosystem, especially when basically raising more fund becomes a challenge as they go along.
Right. And independence is probably one of the requirements for a logistics firm to grow big,
Precisely.
right? Otherwise, if it's owned by a
If
Flipkart
it's
or
owned or if
Snapdeal, then
it's,
it won't work with the other.
invested.
You've seen a couple of downturns, right? I mean, before, like you referred to in 2013, and even maybe once before. What is your advice, to entrepreneurs as to how do you get through such downturns in funding?
So as a company, we were born in 2008. So we call ourselves a child of recession, actually. So that was the worst recession that hit the market out there. So the 2 or 3 things that actually work are, number one is, get to the core of the problem. So in common parlance, dhanda jisko bolte hain, focus on dhanda, right? You can do a lot of sort of ancillary frill stuff around, but where is the money? Wherever there is money, sort of you focus on that. The sophisticated MBA term for this is unit economics and sort of focus on profitability and all that, but dhanda pe focus karo. That is one thing that we certainly learned. The second thing is, keep your burns low and sort of stretch your runway for a meaningful time. The fundraise cycles will go up, and you see multiple news articles coming out of that on that front as well. That's the second advice. The third one is, focus on the customer, because for example, what we have seen is in the last 18 months, this mobile wave essentially driving the next growth of e-commerce. But I don't know if there is enough meat left in that now, right? So maybe there is a new wave from a customer standpoint that needs to be discovered by these e-commerce companies. So that's the other sort of macro trend I think we should watch out for.
Great. So I think we can agree that there's going to be consolidation this year. Companies will need to learn how to manage with less money, cut costs, squeeze out efficiencies wherever they can, and hope that the downturn won't last for maybe more than 12 to 15 months.
If there is a downturn.
If there is a downturn. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.